Have you ever stopped to think about what Winston Churchill, Franklin Roosevelt, Mark Twain, and Amadeus Mozart have in common? Besides being great historical figures, they all belong to one of the world's most mysterious and influential societies, the Freemasons. But what really happens behind the closed doors of this enigmatic organization? What secrets do they guard so carefully? And how have they managed to maintain their power and influence over the centuries? During World War II, the Freemasons played a crucial role in resisting the Nazi regime. What challenges did they face, and what strategies did they employ? Today, we will delve into the secrets and mysteries of this fraternity that has always operated in the highest spheres of power. Since their foundation, the Freemasons have attracted the attention of historians and experts, intrigued by their secret rituals and widespread influence. Get ready for a journey behind the scenes of history, exploring exclusive and confidential knowledge about Freemasonry. Leave your comment expressing your opinion on the topic. It greatly enriches the debate. Let's begin our journey over 300 years ago, when Freemasonry emerged among the guilds of builders in the Middle Ages. These master craftsmen were responsible for the grand cathedrals and other monuments that still defy human understanding today. Over time, this organization evolved, incorporating ethical and moral principles, as well as rich symbolism and ceremonial rituals. Masonic rites, laden with symbolism, reflect the depth of their teachings. The use of construction tools like the compass and square, for example, is not by mere chance. These tools symbolize virtues such as moral rectitude and emotional balance, which are central values for Freemasonry. Another significant symbol is Solomon's Temple, representing the idealized place of purity and wisdom that Masons seek to build within themselves. Today, Freemasonry is organized into lodges, which are local units where members gather to perform rites and discuss matters related to the fraternity. Although it is not a religion, Freemasonry promotes religious tolerance and requires its members to believe in a supreme being, regardless of their specific faith. This demonstrates the profound spiritual sense that permeates the organization. Construction tools, like the compass and square, are used as metaphors to teach ethical and moral lessons. These symbols and rituals, passed down from generation to generation, help preserve the tradition and values of Freemasonry. Freemasonry has attracted influential figures from various fields, including political leaders, artists, scientists, and intellectuals. George Washington, Voltaire, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, and Winston Churchill are just a few notable names who became Freemasons. During the American Revolution, many leaders of the struggle for United States independence were Freemasons, and the fraternity played a significant role in spreading Enlightenment ideals. Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers and a Mason, used his connections within the fraternity to secure international support, especially in France. The French Revolution was also strongly influenced by Freemasonry. The motto "Liberty, Equality, Fraternity" directly reflects Masonic principles. Marquis de Lafayette, one of the heroes of the French Revolution, was a fervent advocate of these ideals and used his Masonic connections to promote the revolutionary cause. The exchange of ideas and strategies between American and French revolutionaries, facilitated by Freemasonry, was crucial to the success of both movements. In science and the arts, many of the great names who shaped modernity were Freemasons. Isaac Newton, one of the greatest scientists of all time, had strong ties to Freemasonry. He saw scientific pursuit as a way to understand the secrets of the universe. In the field of arts, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart incorporated Masonic symbolism into his works, such as in the opera, The Magic Flute. Mozart's Masonic influence is evident in the encoded messages of equality and fraternity present in his music. Freemasonry also faced criticism and condemnation from some religious and political authorities. The Catholic Church, in particular, issued several statements throughout the 20th century, discouraging participation in Freemasonry, and even prohibiting Masonic membership within the church. This conflict generated distrust and fueled conspiracy theories that continue to exist today. During the 18th and 19th centuries, Freemasonry was seen as a progressive force that often opposed authoritarian and clerical regimes. Giuseppe Garibaldi in Italy and Simón Bolívar in Latin America were Freemasons who used their connections to promote freedom and independence in their respective countries. Freemasonry, like many other institutions, did not escape the devastating effects of World War II, especially in Nazi Germany. Under Adolf Hitler's regime, the fraternity was severely persecuted. The Nazis viewed Freemasonry as part of a Judeo-Masonic conspiracy aimed at weakening National Socialism. From the moment Hitler came to power in 1933, a series of repressive measures were implemented against Freemasonry. Masonic lodges were closed, their properties were confiscated, and many of their members were in prison. Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS and one of the main architects of the Holocaust, believed that Freemasons posed a direct threat to racial purity and the security of the Reich. He ordered the creation of a special department within the Gestapo, dedicated to the eradication of Freemasonry. This department was responsible for tracking, arresting, and torturing Freemasons throughout Germany and the occupied territories. Nazi repression of Freemasonry also extended to other Axis-occupied countries. In France, the Gestapo worked closely with the Vichy government to identify and persecute Freemasons. In Poland, Freemasons were sent to concentration camps, where many met their deaths. In Italy, under Mussolini's fascist regime, Freemasonry was declared illegal, and its members were persecuted. In concentration camps, Freemasons were often identified and segregated. They were forced to wear red, yellow, or blue triangles, depending on the category under which they were classified. The persecution of Freemasons was not limited to imprisonment and incarceration. Many were subjected to brutal medical experiments and forced labor, resulting in a high mortality rate among Masonic prisoners. A shocking example of the brutality faced by Freemasons can be found in Sachsenhausen, a concentration camp near Berlin. In 1938, after Kristallnacht, a wave of arrests hit the Masonic community, resulting in the deportation of many Freemasons to Sachsenhausen. There, they were subjected to torture and humiliation, such as having Masonic symbols forcibly tattooed on their skin. Many were murdered simply for their Masonic affiliation. Masonic resistance took various forms. In some cases, Freemasons secretly organized within the camps to maintain morale and support each other. They used discrete signs and symbols to identify allies and keep hope for survival and freedom alive. In a survivor's account from Auschwitz, it is mentioned that Freemasons gathered in small groups to recite rituals and reaffirm their commitments to the principles of fraternity and humanity, even in the face of imminent death. Outside the concentration camps, Masonic resistance also manifested. In occupied France, Freemasons were actively involved in the French resistance, using their networks to coordinate sabotage operations and support the Allies. They provided crucial information on German troop movements and helped organize escape networks for prisoners of war and Jews. During the Nazi regime, one of the darkest propaganda strategies was promoting the idea of a conspiracy between Freemasons and Jews to dominate the world. Defamatory posters and slogans, like "All Freemasons are Jews," "All Jews are Freemasons," proliferated, depicting these groups as power-hungry enemies willing to destroy society to achieve their goals. Hitler intensified this campaign by ordering the translation and distribution of an infamous Russian anti-Semitic book, The Protocols of the Elders of Zion, making its reading mandatory. This narrative of hatred spread quickly through Nazi-occupied territories. In 1943, anti-Masonic propaganda reached French cinema with the film Forces Occultes, revealing the supposed mysteries of Freemasonry on screen for the first time. The film followed the story of a young man who joins the Freemasons, hoping to boost his career, only to discover an alleged conspiracy between Jews and Anglo-American countries to drag France into war against Germany. In Spain, the situation was even more drastic. Many Freemasons were brutally murdered, and from 1940 onwards, those identified as members of Masonic lodges faced severe penalties, including imprisonment and the possibility of the death penalty. With the increase in hatred and propaganda, most Freemasons were forced to operate underground, conducting their meetings in even stricter secrecy than before. These propaganda campaigns were complemented by public exhibitions and events aimed at discrediting and demonizing Freemasonry. For example, in Germany, Nazi authorities organized anti-Masonic exhibitions in cities like Belgrade, where objects confiscated from Masonic lodges were displayed to the public in a context of defamation and fear. These exhibitions deliberately manipulated the settings, introducing Hebrew symbols to suggest a false connection between Freemasons and Jews, creating a narrative of warning and hostility. To reinforce this propaganda, more than 176 films were produced, many inspired by the infamous The Eternal Jew exhibitions in Germany. These films were widely distributed and complemented by commemorative stamps, which conveyed the message that Jews, Freemasons, and Communists were the enemies of the serious-minded people. These grotesque exhibitions and cinematic productions served as tools of manipulation and persecution during one of the darkest periods in history. On the Allied side, Freemasonry remained an influential fraternity for many prominent leaders. President Harry S. Truman, a fervent Mason, continued to actively participate in lodges even while serving as President of the United States. During his tenure, Truman reached the 33rd degree, demonstrating his strong commitment to the organization. Similarly, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, also a dedicated Mason, attained the 32nd degree. These numerical degrees symbolize the importance and dedication of each member within the movement. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill joined the fraternity in 1901. His participation may have been more a matter of family tradition than personal conviction, as Freemasonry was common among his ancestors. Churchill did not advance much in the Masonic hierarchy, and his interest in the organization waned as his political career progressed. It is difficult to assert with certainty whether his brief association with Freemasonry had any significant impact. During World War II, Freemasonry counted prominent members among the Allied military leaders. General Douglas MacArthur, commander of American forces in the Philippines, along with Generals Omar Bradley and Henry Arnold, were all Masons. Although their affiliation with the fraternity likely did not directly influence their combat strategies, they showed solidarity with the difficult situation faced by their fellow Masons. Among this select group of leaders facing the Axis, the British royal family also played a significant role. The British royal family contributed financial and logistical resources to rescue members of the fraternity. However, even these efforts were not enough to protect all Freemasons in Germany and the occupied territories. It is estimated that between 80,000 and 200,000 Freemasons lost their lives due to their association with Masonic lodges. This estimate is imprecise, partly because Hitler's regime considered both Jews and Freemasons as common enemies, making it difficult to identify exactly how many were killed exclusively for being Freemasons. During World War II, Freemasons worldwide made remarkable efforts to support the war effort and help those in need. In Illinois, Masonic lodges stood out by establishing service centers dedicated to supporting the military. These centers not only offered entertainment and recreation, but also essential services such as hot meals and community events, helping soldiers relieve the stress of war. These centers were inclusive, serving all uniformed forces, regardless of their Masonic affiliation. In addition to these local initiatives, the headquarters in Illinois sent letters of support to brothers overseas, conveying messages of encouragement and pride. These correspondences were gratefully received by soldiers in various parts of the world, serving as a reminder that they were not alone. The funding for these centers and initiatives came from the generous and systematic donations of local Masonic lodges, which united to support these noble causes. In England, Masonic lodges played a crucial role in the war effort. Members of the fraternity did not hesitate to donate their jewels to fund the conflict, raising significant amounts. But the contribution of the Masons went beyond financial support. During the nightly bombings, Freemasons' Hall became a safe haven for many. A greenhouse was even built over the Great Temple to grow fresh food, creating a true oasis of support and solidarity in times of crisis. These actions had a dual purpose. Besides providing direct aid, the Masons sought to dissipate the veil of mystery that always surrounded them, trying to gain public sympathy during a period of conflict. With the end of the war, Freemasonry in Europe faced the challenge of reconstruction. The lodges that had been closed struggled to reopen, while the fraternity worked hard to recover its archives and re-establish its international connections. The recovery of confiscated assets and the restoration of Masonic properties required significant collective effort. In many cases, Freemasons resorted to international courts to claim their rights and restore their possessions. But what was this reconstruction process like? What were the biggest challenges they faced? Beyond material recovery, Freemasonry also dedicated itself to rebuilding its public image. During the war years, Nazi propaganda had ingrained deep distrust and stigma towards the fraternity. Freemasons strove to dispel these myths and show the world the true nature of their organization. They engaged in awareness campaigns, promoting public events, lectures, and publications that highlighted their principles of charity, equality, and fraternity. Over the years, Freemasons managed to stay united, attracting more and more members. The initiation rites, which have hardly changed since the Middle Ages, continue to transmit knowledge and privileges to new members wishing to join the order. These rites, though mysterious and symbolic, serve as a powerful link of continuity and tradition, connecting generations of Freemasons and preserving the legacy of the fraternity. Freemasonry also adapted to the social and cultural changes of the post-war period. It opened its doors to a greater diversity of members, including men of different races, religions, and social classes. This inclusion reflected a renewed commitment to the principles of equality and fraternity that have always been at the heart of Freemasonry. In the United States, for example, Freemasonry was an important force in promoting civil rights and fighting racial discrimination during the turbulent 60s. The fraternity also became actively involved in global humanitarian efforts. Freemasons established numerous charitable organizations and foundations dedicated to causes such as education, health, and disaster relief. These initiatives not only helped improve the lives of millions of people, but also served to strengthen the reputation of Freemasonry as a force for good in the world. The legacy of Freemasonry after World War II is therefore a testament to resilience, renewal, and dedication to the principles of humanity and fraternity. Freemasonry continues to be a subject of fascination and mystery, with its traditions and rituals remaining relevant and significant to its members around the world. But what does the future hold for this ancient fraternity? And how will it continue to influence global events? Exploring these historical events leads us to question our traditional beliefs and open our minds to new possibilities. The resilience of the Freemasons during World War II challenges conventional understanding and invites us to re-evaluate the nature of their mission and teachings. If you are interested in exploring more about spirituality, I have specially selected for you some videos filled with profound knowledge and fascinating discoveries that you will love. Just click on one of them. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of self-discovery and spiritual learning. Your commitment to knowledge is the first step to transforming your reality.